There are more than 2,000 castles still standing in Scotland, from ancient ruins to modern-day fixer-uppers. According to the estate agent Savills, it's the most searched-for term on their website. Since the start of the pandemic, interest has soared in country living as people flee cities and try to escape the crowds.
That search for space and fresh air is a reality here in Scotland, where you can have your very own castle if you've got the money for it.
This is Baltersan Castle, a 16th century tower home 50 miles southwest of Glasgow. It's safe to say it's in need of some serious restoration. James bought it in 1992 with great hopes to restore it back to its former glory, but finding the right investor has been hard.
Now, the stairwell, very wide for the period. It all speaks of good design and speaks of wealth. You would ascend these stairs, you wouldn't climb, you would ascend.
James, what was your vision when you purchased the castle?
Oh, I could see it. That's the problem. It's a burden if you have vision, because I could see the walls, the painted decoration, the tapestries. It's the old story of a boyhood dream. Some people want train sets. I wanted a castle at the age of 5. So this brings us into the kitchen area, the wine cellar, the storage for meat, and this wonderful arch here is a very common feature. And that fire that would have been in there for the cooking was kept on all the time, because stone is like a storage heater. There's a 16th century mill, there's an 18th century croft house down here, there's the 16th century tower and a 13th century abbey. They should be linked as a linear tourist destination.
I can tell this place brings you a lot of joy, you light up when you talk about it.
Yeah.
But on some level, do you ever regret having purchased it?
Never, no, absolutely never. It's magic. It's this sense of place that just an ordinary ruined building doesn't have. There's a spirit in this place. I don't care if I don't restore it, but it should be restored by somebody, the next custodian, not owner.
On face value, owning a castle could cost less than a studio apartment in London. Cameron's been in the business of selling grand country homes for the past 15 years.
Well, if you take the example of the one behind me here, there's obviously a lot of work to do. You know, this is a property on the Buildings at Risk register. It's category A listed. Okay. So there will be restrictions in what you can and can't do, materials that you've got to use. So there are limitations and considerations that also have significant cost implications.
Do people have any misconceptions when they start their search for a castle?
Yes, yeah. The first thing to highlight is they don't all come with a title. Many people assume that you become Lord of the Manor, but it's in fact not quite that case.
But what happens if your family already has the castle? How do you keep it from becoming a financial drain?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
So
you.
lovely to meet you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Right.
Should we go
This
in?
is quite the welcome. Hello.
Ali's family has lived on these grounds since the 1500s. Though his great-grandfather built this place at the turn of the 20th century, moving the family out of the now ruined castle. The couple met in Vietnam and lived in the US before moving back to Ali's ancestral home 8 years ago.
What was the state of the place when you first saw it?
It was winter when I first arrived and saw the place for the very first time. The blinds were drawn, there were so many dust sheets on tables and furniture. Everything was really dark, had a bit of a morgue feel to it, to be honest. So this room is particularly personal to me because it is very much based on my idea of Victoriana meets East Asian.
The estate had mostly welcomed hunting parties. Anne wanted to move away from that tradition and focus on other types of gatherings, like weddings, though it needed a major revamp.
We have done about 48 bedrooms, 15 kitchens. I am not a designer. I don't know anything about interior design. and I had to learn very quickly, and I made a lot of mistakes. I think that itself is overwhelming, but it's also like running a business and recruiting and raising really young children. I mean, there were moments in our lives between Ali and I where we are on the brink of divorce, for sure.
And that's my great-grandmother there, and that's my great-grandfather up there. He was the guy that built this place.
A lot of people dream of owning a castle and they don't think through the reality. Do you have any advice for potential buyers?
If you are thinking about doing anything like this and your first motivation is profitability, it is not going to work. I love my husband, and this is me, helping to fulfill his dream. And Ali, it was significantly easier for him to be motivated to do this project because it is his ancestral home.
They get a lot of guests from abroad, including from the US, and they all want that castle experience. It's fair to say everything is over the top, but the American in me loves it.
We just keep it to ourselves.
Oh, there we go. Okay, this isn't awkward at all. Uh-oh. Oh! Great view of the castle. Here on my back. I think it's game over for me.
Dinner soon comes around, but before we sit down, Anne says she has a little surprise.
What? What is this?
This is for you to pick out your outfit for dinner.
Okay, this was obviously for me. The fairies in southwest Scotland are working tonight.
I think you should definitely wear this. Oh my God, that is so you.
Part of the experience involves an outrageous dinner party with the guests.
What would your ancestors think about what's going on tonight?
I think they liked fun nights. Well, my great-grandfather built this house for entertaining.
But I'm curious, when Anne married you and moved here and suggested these changes, how did that sit with you?
Actually, it was fine. And I wouldn't have done it without her. So it was good to have that breath of fresh air.
Owning and running a castle as a tourist attraction is not for the faint-hearted. But if you can make it work, it's not a bad life.